Welcome back to another art play date, and this month we're actually going to do something quick and fun. And what I'm going to do is we're going to make a beach sign. I know that the theme this time around is kind of beach sign. So what I wanted to do was show you one of the awesome new products from DecoArt. These are the vintage effects. They're basically creating the old-fashioned pickled wash look. But these are really fun. I've only got two colors to start with right now, but that's really all we need for this fun little beach sign. So we're going to play around with these. And in order to apply, I want to really work the paint into the surface. So what I'm going to use actually is my blue ice brushes from Dynasty. These were designed specifically for their home decor, and I just love them. They're very stiff, but they've got this nice little soft end on them, which what I'm going to find is actually going to help me move the paint, just so I'm not getting any puddling. It'll work it into the wood a little bit. And so what I'm starting with is I'm going to use a plaque, this sort of old palette look plaque from Cover Distributing. And then I'm going to put on a fun little sign, just kind of make it beachy, and then we'll do some lettering and stuff. And this is from a really good friend of mine. She's really making her mark in the in the line, the supply lines for decorative painting and stuff now. She's a Canadian designer, but she works a lot in chipboard. So this stuff is she designed specifically for us. So the link is for that, and these are our little beach chairs that we're going to do. And so we are going to get started with painting, and then we're going to see where this project goes from here. So what I'm going to start with doing is I'm going to do it with the gray. It's going to give it that real, you know, the sort of coastal blue look. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little stir. I don't think you really need to, but stirring, you can never go wrong with stirring. I'm just using one of my little palette knives. I'll throw that in some water. And then my brush. I love this brush. So we're going to give that a go. And what I like about it is it's actually going to allow it to spread, so I'm not going to get puddles of paint. I think it'll help me create the a little bit better drying time. Plus, I don't want a solid coat. I want it to sort of sit on top. You can water it down a little bit. I don't want to do it with this particular piece because I want this to be sort of more beachy, coastal looking, because it is just raw wood. If I had a different colored wood underneath, you can use it as a pickling. You can water it down and just do a wash over top of a finished piece, which is something we'll do probably another time once I have all the other colors and different things we can play with. So while I paint this, I'm just going to fast forward my camera because you don't need to watch me paint or listen to me paint for that matter. Okay, so it's dried, and I'm just going to give it a little sand, only because it raises the grain. Anything with a water base to it is going to raise the grain just a little bit, and this is not bad, but I'm just going to give it a quick, just a little, nothing, you know, I'm not trying to sand the edges off or anything, just smooth down. You know, this is a palette board, so it's going to be rustic. While it was drying too, I actually did paint the back. All right. Okay. So of course, while it was drying, I thought it was a perfect time to go for a walk, and I got my Starbucks. Everybody needs a Starbucks. So I want to talk about this stuff a little bit. So because it's brand new, and it's going to start, you'll be able to get it very soon. It's a new DecoArt 2017 catalog. They have the most amazing product this time around. And you're going to actually see me working with all of these. Part of the goal of my Outside the Box is to sort of introduce like some of these new products so that they're not so scary, and how we can use them, of course, with our everyday projects and stuff. So it's basically, it's made to have things look washed out, and you can layer them. You can do them over top of other things. They're a transparent pickling color wash. Can be used on raw wood and finished surfaces to brighten wood projects without hiding the natural wood grain. So you can actually use it over any raw or unfinished surfaces. It's a semi-transparent paint, so that's why we can do it in layers, and you can actually stencil, you can paint, you can, you know, do all sorts of stuff. And we'll investigate all sorts of other ways of using this because I think it is just absolutely a wonderful product. We're going to have it in all these neat colors going forward, so some beautiful colors. And yeah, this is online now, so go to www.decoart.com and you can actually download it and have a look at it. There's some great stuff in this new catalog. So what we're going to do now is I am going to get my Totally Fun piece here, and we're going to do this in the white, in basically in the same fashion, because we're keeping everything sort of raw wood, beachy, you know, rustic looking, and then I don't know where we're going to go from there. We're going to try, yeah, I might find a stencil, gonna maybe put some texture sand down here, maybe some fun things, but right now we're just prepping everything with this awesome product. And you know, if you don't have access to it, you can recreate the same design that I'm working with here with the DecoArt acrylics. I will list them in the pattern as to what which one you can use, and if you want, just use a glazing medium with it just to thin it down a little bit, or you can just use them straight up, just, you know, more solid look. It isn't really going to matter, but the idea of this is to create some really fun, unique projects. Show you how we can use these. You know, one of the things that you know keeps our paint companies going and stuff is of course to constantly introduce something new and exciting. So, you know, DecoArt's been doing a great job. So this is the white. And once again, like, the reason I like using this brush is because it allows me to spread the paint without leaving it sitting on top. Because this way I get as much of it into the wood as possible that is allowed. And I don't end up with like a sticky top part that's going to take a long time to dry. And if you notice, I've been going in different directions. It doesn't seem to be affecting the wood grain unless you had like a really nice piece of wood with knots and, you know, something that you really wanted the wood grain to show, or an effect that you wanted to create with, of course, the wood grain. But in this case, I'm just basically painting with it. So of course, once again, I'm going to, I'm just going to turn the camera off actually to paint this, or I will speed it up, a little bit of both. And we're going to just paint away, paint this whole thing white. We only need the one side. This is the design layout that I'm going to have with it. So I'm going to leave my camera run. I'll probably just speed it up and see what we end up with. Oh, there's no odor. And I'm actually using a craft mat. These are great. This is a Ranger's craft mat because you can just wipe up your mess right afterwards with a baby wipe or a damp rag or something. And they're just great, you know, they protect whatever surface is underneath. You don't worry about getting them all icky. And also, this allows me, because it's got a nice chisel, I can actually get down into these little center pieces a lot better than I could with one of my other brushes. It's so fun. See, I'll show you. This is so cool. You just wipe this up when you're done. This is just a baby white. See? My blue from before. And this is a great way just to keep your palette a clean area to work with. If you can make a mess, it's no big deal. Just keep going on and on. Great if you're going to be using glitters and stuff. This is washable. I got mine off Amazon actually because I'm in Canada and of course we can never find anything because we're stuck with only Michaels, unfortunately. But yeah, so great little thing to have. Michaels does have them, and I believe most craft stores do have them. If not, you can definitely find it on Amazon. So one of the things that I was thinking about that I came up with was to use a little bit of stenciling in the background to start with. And I have decided to try this awesome stencil from Patricia Rollinson. I love her stencils, you know, she just keeps coming up with the greatest little things to do for backgrounds and stuff like that. So what I thought I would do is just pick up a few of these, like not the whole stencil, just going to take a little bits here and there. And I thought I would start with by moving it around with like welcome to my beach house. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stencil with the vintage effects. Keep that in my window there. Make sure I'm not moving away. With my handy dandy Dynasty stencil brush. And I'm going to use, this one from Tracy Moreau because of course I just love it. I'm going to take a little bit of paint and I'm going to put a little bit on my palette. Because we're not going to need a whole lot of paint. Just going to need just enough to, put a little texture in here. I don't want the little beach sandals. If you wanted to, you could. I am going to start with just this top part, welcome to our beach house. And it's going to line it up so it fits on the top bar. And because it's a large stencil, I'm going to get out my painter's tape. And I'm going to tape it down just on the corners just for a little bit of added something. And I think this is a fun piece. You could actually have a lot of fun adding your own little embellishments to something like this, like maybe some nautical wood rope or anything like that. Which, who knows where this is going to go, right? So there, I've got that sort of secured down. I'll load my stencil brush. And I'm going to go around and just give it a light wash. And I'm swirling. By swirling the brush, we are stopping it from, of course, building up in the corners, but we're getting a nice, even coat. And it's not going to be thick, because we don't want it to be thick and sort of we don't want it to sit over top of everything. If you wanted to, you could put a piece of tape across there. I'm trying to be careful, but that's never always the case. Well, let's have a little look-see, shall we? Oh yeah, that's nice. It's just soft, a little bit soft. And let's see. I think I'm going to use this whole section in here because I want to I was thinking about building sandcastles and stuff down along the bottom just for some fun. Ooh, in this house, flip-flops are mandatory. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do this part. Start with that. And of course, tape it down again. Get my piece of tape. The fun is you can pick and choose your own words. If you have another beach stencil, Lori Speltz has one, which is kind of fun with your beach rules and things like this from her Great Outdoors. It's got a lot of really fun beachy words on it. I debated on that one, but then I ended up using this one. And I don't want to cover up here, so I'm going to actually put tape over that. And let's see. What else? I like this building process. I just never really know where all this is going to go. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Okay. And then, you can embellish with all sorts of different things after. Okay, so we're going to go up here. If I had more colors, unfortunately I only have a couple of colors of this right now, so that's why I'm only using the sort of the nautical colors, the white and the blue. But if there is a wide range of colors, and if I had them, I would be having so much fun. We would be doing all sorts of neat stuff with colors on this sign, maybe doing each board a different color. And that could be coming up, we'll see what summer brings. So if you have a chance to use different colors, by all means. And if you're using your regular acrylics, you can certainly use any colors that you want. I'm kind of creating more of this in the background right now, just because I'm not sure where this is going to go just yet. I have the initial plan is a beachy sign, but after that, who knows? Okay, we've got that. And let's see. I'm going to do something fun up here. We make wishes on starfishes. This little sign up here. Put that up here. Straighten it out a little bit. Take my tape. I'm trusting that it's straight. in here. And I'm not using a whole lot of paint for this at all. And I'm actually, I've got some little starfishes. Maybe we'll glue some little starfishes on after. We'll see. I think the fun sometimes is just seeing where it's going to go. That's fun. Lay out our pieces. If you ever wonder where the design mind goes, this is how we do it. We just kind of do it. Okay, put these guys down and see. Because we can do all sorts of stuff. So now that I'm kind of figuring this out, I'm going to put a little sand down here. Oh, how fun would this be? I'm thinking, do we want bonfire in the middle or sand castles? You can do either or. I'm kind of thinking bonfire. You know what? We're just going to put them both on and see where it goes. We're just going to do the words. We build. Okay, so I'm going to make sand from the DecoArt Media Texture Sand. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, of course, some sandy colors. I'm going to make it sand. So I'm going to take my palette knife. And I'm going to take some, put a big pile of it out here. And this is going to give us sort of a sandy kind of look. So you can tint it. You can do anything you want with it. Okay. Maybe some fawn. We'll see what color that comes with. We can add stuff to it after too. So we're just going to take it and we're just going to put a little bit of paint in there. It actually takes tint very well, so very quickly it will tint. Oh wait, that's going to be good. So we can do a wash over top after or something. Perfect. Okay. Isn't this fun? I have no idea what we're doing. So now, I think I will give myself a guideline to where these are going to sit. I'm going to put that right on the edge. This over here. And then, so I'm figuring probably... I think we're just going to do the bottom board. And we're going to add a sandcastle over here. We're going to do that all together. So we will start with the sandcastle. Sandcastle will actually give us a sort of a starting point as to where, because I want the sandcastle to sort of sit right here. So we'll start, and it's okay, there's a little hole there. We're going to put this over top. And I'm going to do it quite heavy, primarily because I want the sandcastle to be built up. And it might fill the hole a little bit too. There's nothing wrong with that. So I do it quite thick. Scrape a little bit off. It will fall into the hole as it dries. Fun, hey? Okay, very carefully lift. Awesome. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back, and we are actually going to start on the sand on the bottom, but because that's wet, so I want that to dry, so that'll be a few minutes, and then we will come back. And you do want to get it on quite quickly, and the reason why is because we want to put the chairs on while we can sort of squish them into the sand. So what I want to do is, while we're still sort of fairly wet, is I'm going to get my chair, and we're going to kind of find a spot for it. So we squish it in so that we actually get that little indent so we know where it's going to go. And we'll take it off because I just want it for placement. That's so cool. So what I've done as well is, because I do want this all to dry, touch up my little oozing bits there. And I didn't go all the way to the bottom. That's of course a personal choice of yours if you want. But I found these awesome little tiny seashells in the bead section in Michael's, in any craft store in the bead section, or dollar stores or whatever. And I thought it would be kind of fun. Watch out for any that oozes in through there. It would be kind of fun to add a few into the sand while it's still wet, because it's beachy, right? You know, if you're on a lake, you might not have. And because I have fat fingers, I need tweezers. I need some sort of tweezers. Pick these things up and pop a few in. And they'll stay because they'll dry right in there, so you don't need any glue or anything like that. I just thought it would be kind of fun to stick a few in there. I just like playing with things and seeing what we can do with stuff that we maybe otherwise might not do. Oops. Just a few, not too many. Just stuck a couple, an even number. You can do more or less, whatever, you know, your little heart desires. That's kind of fun. You know, if you have any other little beachy kind of things, you could pop some in there as well. Let them dry, maybe a little beach ball, a little pail or something. There's all sorts of stuff in the beading and sort of bits and pieces in the store. Okay. I'm going to take this out. Lift it straight up. Okay. Because it is an adhesive, so I've been lifting it very carefully, turning it over. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some glue. And my favorite glue is, you can use wood glue, but I love this Aleene's tacky, fast grab tacky glue. I love it. I've used it for years. It's just sort of my favorite thing. So we're just going to put my glue on. And just a few. It's going to stay pretty well. And I don't need any down there because that's going to stay. The trick is to get it sort of back where it was. Any of the glue that oozes out the sides, don't worry about it because it actually will dry clear. Or if it bothers you like it bothers me, you can take a Q-tip or a brush and just clean it up with some water. Okay, let's get this guy. So between this glue and the texture sand, these things aren't going to come off. And the nice thing about doing this while the sand is still wet is if you don't get it in quite the right spot, you can just move the sand around a little bit. There. So I'm going to let this dry. Okay, so that's all dry. So now what I want to do is I want to add the fire pit right here. And instead of adding tint this time, I'm actually just going to do it, just the bricks with the paste, just over top of what's there to build it up. So I'm just going to pop that in there, go straight into the sand texture, because then I'm going to paint it. Actually, you know what? I think we will add some. We're going to add some. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of zinc, I think, to the texture. Just make a little bit of brick color. I think that'd be kind of fun. Then we can add some other tints to it if we want, because they're kind of rocks, kind of. But again, just a small drop, not too much. Blend it together. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. And I want it to go over a little bit of what's already there. And it will actually pick up. And I'm going to have to kind of, a little bit tricky here. Want it just so it's in between, but just below the line here. And I'm going to use a little pouncing brush because of the fact that I don't have a lot of place to hold the stencil down. So I'm just going to use this, pat it into where I want it to be. Scoop up some. And you're just going to be holding it down with your finger. And then one. Just a little bit tricky. The thing is, we can clean it up afterwards with just a little Q-tip or something if we get it a little out of control. As long as it comes out looking like rocks, we're good. Very carefully, straight up. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Okay, so while that's drying, I've been looking at it and trying to think, okay, now what do I want to do? And I'm really liking the way it's sort of starting to take shape. So what I did is I went and I found these cute little banners. These are from Southern Ridge Trading Company. You can get them, you know, all cut, you know, from various different sources and stuff like this, but they do come from the same company as the Adirondack chairs. And I was kind of thinking, I think I'm going to do some sort of fun banner for summer. I just think it'd be kind of fun. Okay, so I had originally talked about putting these banners on, and I've gone ahead and I've put a coat of the white vintage on them. But what I've decided to do actually is, I thought it would be more fun to do them in different, because I don't know what I want to say on them. And I thought, you know, leave that up to you to do whatever. Then I debated painting them different colors, but then, you know, what colors do I want to paint them? A lot of work. So what I decided to do instead was go and get some scrapbook paper. And these little books, you can get them at the dollar store. They're just full of all sorts of different colors. And this one just happened to have all these awesome tones that I just liked in the book. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. And this way, if you don't have the tags, you can actually just, like I'll do the tag pattern. If you don't want to purchase the tags, then you can just cut the tags out of paper and put them on as well. Or you could do maybe your family name or something. So I'm just going to pick some different ones. And what I'm going to go through is I'm just going to trace around them with my Sharpie permanent mark. Only because I want to be able to see it. And it's going to give me a good cutting mark. Okay, oh, wasn't that fun? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get out our matte medium. And you can use decoupage if you have decoupage. That'll work as well. We're going to use the DecoArt matte medium today. And let's see, you just need a brush, an older brush. I like to use my older ones when I use these. And these are black silver. They're good for, they're a little sturdier for when I want to do things that are going to be a little harder on my brushes. So I'm just going to do a bunch. I'm just going to, you know, put some matte medium on the top. We're going to get our fingers all nice and gooey. I'm just going to put this on top. Smooth it down with our finger. Set it aside and do another one. Okay, so they're dry. So what I do now is I take a sander. Look at this awesome leg. Actually, the nail sanders files work great. And I just go around the edges just to take off any extra little bits that are hanging over. The nail files are great for this. I just find they're great to hold on to. I'm going to file these edges down, smooth them out. Okay, so we're back, everything's dry. So now what I've done is I've gone in and I've done a couple of things. I've gone and sort of placed everything. I've sketched on sort of where I want to put my little bit of pattern on these. I'm not going to do a lot. I just want to do a little bit of shading on these guys, and I'm going to alternate blue and white for the umbrella. But I also decided, since I'm going to put these as the word welcome for mine, but you know, you can, like I said, do whatever you want. The package came with 9 or 10 pieces in it. So I thought it would be kind of fun to make little pillows. So I kind of made little pillows. I don't know if I'm going to use them yet, but I thought, well, why not, since I had put paper on them all. And what I did is I just kind of used the opposite piece, and I went like that right there, and I drew with my pen, and then I scored it with my X-Acto knife. I like this little one here, and I just scored along the edge. I did it twice, not all the way through because that's too hard. And then so it sort of breaks where you want it. And then I get out my scissors, my papers, not my really good paper scissors, but my next best. And then I just cut them. Because the thing about the chipboard is that chipboard is cuttable. So I thought, yeah, maybe we'll have a couple of cushions on there because, you know, it's cozy when we put the fire in and stuff like that. And then I went and found some string because I thought I want to string my banner together. And I was kind of hoping for, I figured some white. I have so much of this stuff in different types of baker's twine. I've got a dark blue. I know I have one that's more nautical, but you know, it's like anything. You can't find it when you need it, but you know it's there. So there's a couple of different options there for stringing that together when the time comes. And then, so what I'm going to do is we are going to put some color on here. We're going to get the fire on. And I'm going to continue on with my vintage effects, but I'm going to use the gray. It's such a cool color. And because I want a little bit more control this time around, and I'm just going to work out of the tin. I'm just going to use my little black gold, or black silver. And I've gone and marked off so that I know which ones I'm going to do in the blue. And I'm just going to do a quick paint, because this piece actually is not going to have a lot of color to it. I wanted to keep it, you know, fairly neutral, with the color being the paper. Okay, so that's painted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade. Now what I wanted to show you was, if you don't have the vintage effects in the gray and you wanted to do the same color palette, use Colonial Blue. It's from last year's new DecoArt palette. And I'm actually going to show you, because I'm actually going to use it for shading. Because once again, I don't want to have a lot of color, but I still want to stay the colors to pop that I have used a little bit here. And this is just chalk on here, so I'm not too worried about going over that. So I'm going to shade the blue, just to give it a little bit of depth. See, it's just going to give it that little something something. Not a lot, just something. Cool. I'll get my trusty little mop out. We'll give that a little pounce just to soften it a little bit. The same under here. We're going to go under. Little pounce. And you notice I'm bouncing around, and I do that because I allow the floats to dry before I carry on to the next one. And I also pull my floats toward me. That's why you're seeing me sort of go around and move my piece back and forth a lot. Okay, so that is with the gray. And since another color that we have used already was the fawn for the sand, we're actually going to use fawn for shading the white. And I'm not putting out a lot because I'm not going to use a lot. And because I drew with a chalk pencil, it actually just gets washed off. Different mop. Miss Lily. So that's just with the brown and the blue. So it's sort of giving a little something to the umbrella. What we're going to do is we're actually going to continue on now with the fawn. And I've marked off, the chair is very difficult because it's a laser cut. So I've done a little studying on the internet, and I've sort of come up with a little bit of a pattern that will just give a little depth to the chair. So don't panic, you can add more or less or just leave them plain. That is always up to you. But we're going to shade off just a few little spots just to kind of indicate a few of the sections. Okay, so not a lot of work done into that, just a little bit of color here and there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these back where they belong because they fell over. And I am going to tape off the handle, and we are going to paint, or the pole, we're going to paint it, and then we're going to add some tints. So I'm only taping it off because of course I don't need to tape off there. I love my sticky notes. These are the best things when you want to tape something small off. Best things ever. And I'm going to go down here. I like these because you just move them around. Okay, and another color that we had used earlier was zinc, so I'm actually going to use that for the pole. Let that dry. I didn't put it on too heavy just because it shouldn't seep under, but I didn't want it to seep under at all. But just, you know, it could, just a little tiny bit. Once you let that dry quickly, put on a second coat. Dries quick. Okay, take that off. This would be a nice simple little pole right there. I was going to introduce like a different color, but there's no point because when you're using scrapbook paper, you just already don't know what color scrapbook paper you're going to end up with, so it really didn't seem, you know, beneficial to go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do now is going to take a smaller brush, and I'm just going to touch up the sides a little bit. I'm just going to water down my gray because I don't want it spend too much time on it. Just some of the sides where it's kind of overlapping. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a highlight and a shade on this, and I'm going to highlight it. Actually, I'm not even going to shade it. I'm just going to highlight it this way with warm white. We're going to get warm white out because that's for all of our highlights. And we're going to put the fire on, because we need a fire, since we know what direction we've gone with all of this now. See, I had that, so I sort of know where my fire is going to go. And I'm actually just going to stipple the fire in, just so I know where it's going to go. With the warm white, because it just happens to be on my palette right now. Take one of my little dry brushes. Plus the white will give us a bit of a base to add a little bit fire. Cool. It's just for placement purposes. So we've got our little fire in there. So with the fire is we're going to take, see, I don't want it too colorful. We need a yellow, nice soft yellow, moon yellow. And we pull the colors out from your scrapbook paper so that you're not clashing with it. Because I don't want to add like really bright colors to this. So I'm going to look at my scrapbook paper that I've got, and I've got a nice yellow. So I'm going to go, my palette is grayed out. Moon yellow is nicely grayed out. And let's see, Antique Rose. So we're going to use these two, just, you know, to add a little hint of color. And they go, so I'm not going to freak out about it. And you can also use the color palette to pick your scrapbook paper too. I'm going to use my number 3 round because I can get a nice fire point with that. So I'm going to paint my fire. Just sort of follow the pattern of what was there. Just one coat. And then while it's still wet, I'm going to take my Adobe Rose. It's an old color that DecoArt bought back. I was quite excited. I'm not even going to clean my brush. I'm just going to go right into that. And while it's still wet, I'm just going to stroke. And I'm just going to bounce between the yellow and then a little bit of the red. Just kind of stroke it in. So you get a few colors of the darker. Now, a simple little fire. If you want to add more white or more yellow, you just go ahead. Good enough for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my little holes in here, take a stylus, and I'm going to go back to the holes that I had and hope. So you use a sharp stylus, you can go back in there. Then this is the fun part. The fun part will be to see what size of twine that we can get through there. So there's one. Okay, so I am going to use the wider twine. What I figured out is I have this neat little tool. I forget where I got it from, but it's kind of making the holes bigger. So by making the holes bigger, I'm able to get this new twine through. So I am going to do that, and I'm not going to make you watch, but we will come back to it. Okay, that was fun. That was trying, and I finished it. So I just made the holes a little bit bigger. So what I did is I just threaded these on this way, so they're adjustable. They slide, so you can figure out which way, you know, you can slide them to adjust them if you want, but they're pretty secure. So I've got them on, and then what I did is I wanted to have some little eye hooks, but I know I have them, I just don't know what I've done with them. So I've stapled, put a couple of staples into the sides so that I could tie my banner on with. So I'm going to move them around. Yeah, you want to have that little bit of a drape going on. Let's see. I think kind of like that, so I'm going to tie it off. I like that. It's kind of a banner, so you know, if you wanted it tighter, you could still adjust it or whatever. So I thought that was kind of fun. You can move these, adjust them as you see fit. Or you can. I'm not going to put letters on mine, but you could. You could write whatever you want. Stamp the letters or whatever. And let's see, I'm not really happy with this being quite that color. I'm going to add a little bit of white into it just to tone it down. I think with the wash, just tone it down a little bit. It's just brighter than it does kind of go with everything else that we've got going on. So just a little bit of water, nothing, not a lot, just a little bit. Just to kind of tone it. Stick with sort of the look that's going on. And that's part of the nice thing about this paint too, is you can actually tone down some bright colors. All right, and then I wanted to do with the white, I should just use this. A little bit out, is I wanted to add some stripes because I think we needed some stripes. We're going to use real white. That's too light because it does have a transparency to it no matter what you do with it. Just going to add a little bit of white. I'm just going to do some stripes. Almost like a candy cane, just because it needed that little something. And the white I just kind of watered down, so you could actually use either or. It's still just a wash. We'll try going over it a second time and see if we can't make it just that little bit whiter. Okay, so anyone who knows me knows that I do not like things, I like to have a little outlining and stuff. And in most of my pieces I usually do, but I don't want to use any black on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some zinc and I'm going to do a little bit of outlining, not a lot, just to sort of enhance sort of a few things that I want to pop out. And by using an ultra fine liner, it's not going to make much difference. And this is optional as well. My new favorite is my new 5/0 script liner, black gold script liner. I am actually in love with this. So I'm just going to do some definition, and it's not going to be that dark. So remember with this piece is the idea with this really was just to create sort of a whimsical beachy sign. There's really no right or wrong to how I've painted certain things. I just wanted it light, airy, and fun. So that's it. hope you had fun painting this, and I can't wait to see what kind of fun designs that you all come up with yours. And enjoy!